Meeting to order. We sent invitation for 9 a.m. It's now 10:15 a.m. The meeting was meant to start at 9 a.m. or as earlier scheduled. So now that it is 10:15 a.m., allow me to call the meeting to order. Our clerk will lead us in the opening prayer, and we shall have the introduction and sign our attendance register. Of course, the meeting is fully constituted. We shall make our communication and then a reaction on the communication, and we take a decision as we deem appropriate. But the seats are still empty, and we haven't received any formal communication. I'll give it 5 minutes as we interact with other issues before we make a conclusion that they have declined our invitation and not sent any apology or explanation as to their absence. But before we reach there, on a sad note, we lost one of the technical staff members attached to the committee, Angela Kanyeginya, who has been a legal counsel attached to Cosase, I think tomorrow, in Bunyangabo. I assigned the vice chair to follow up on Uganda Airlines. And before the committee is the report of the Auditor General on Uganda National Airlines Company Limited for the audit year ended 2025, December 2025. The report highlights very concerning observations by the Auditor General, and to buttress our meeting and records, the Auditor General generally informs us by way of observation that the airline as an entity is making losses. And within the Auditor General's report, the Auditor General cites that the debts have increased from the previous year, that's 2023-2024, to 2024-2025, and the assets of Uganda Airlines deteriorated. Another critical observation is that the government investment of 1.984 trillion today by the audit year had not been recognized as issued share capital, meaning the government injected 1.984 trillion, but only 200 million is recognized, meaning it's a critical area for us as a committee to investigate. The other critical aspect is on accumulated and increased arrears. The supplies in huge quantities remain unpaid, and for the audit year, it was mentioned to have increased by 64.012 billion from the previous year in arrears alone. Of course, the Auditor General also cites unbanked money or cash that the entity, Uganda Airlines, specifically the Juba country office, has been established to keep huge amounts of cash unbanked, and in that regards unaccounted for. There's another revelation on the post-release closure and reconciliation for the A320 wait lease agreement. Which also raises issues and concerns as to specifically the performance security, whether it will be refundable, forfeited, impaired. So there are huge amounts of money in question as regards performance security, which haven't been clarified even at the time of audit. There's a revelation and an observation by Auditor General on aviation fuel. That aviation fuel that has attracted penalties worth US $1.782 million. And what the Auditor General cites as concerning is that there has been no documentation, no justification, no proof that even the charges of this interest is justifiable. So, and there could be a possibility of even connivance, because how do we reach a figure of almost 1.782 million in US dollars in unsupported aviation fuel? So we must interrogate the aspect of aviation fuel thoroughly. And the Auditor General also observes the uplifting of aviation fuel from suppliers without fuel supply contracts. That there are some suppliers of aviation fuel, but without contracts. And the quote in dollars is in millions of dollars. For 2024-2025, fuel worth $9.292808 million US dollars has the no pricing basis and no payment terms applicable. Now, there is a possibility of overpricing according to the Auditor General. It is a revelation on assets, and the budget generally is mentioned as underperforming. The Auditor General, I think, inspected the fleet, on the CRJ fleet, and some were found idle and lying. When you look at the tune, the amount of domestic areas is also in billions. Now, for such an entity, to abscond our invitation and to avoid scrutiny by Park Cosase, whereas before us there is an audit report, and the audit report reports a very poor financial performance with questionable expenditures in millions of dollars. It becomes important that we find a way of ensuring that any accounting officer, including this one of Uganda Airlines, who chooses to abscond or refuses to appear before the committee is forced to appear in accordance with the established legal framework. I have cross-checked from our secretariat from the dispatch record of Parliament. The invitation was dispatched on 20th of August 2026 to the courier, to the accounting office of Uganda Airlines Company Limited. I've also received an abstract, a copy of the delivery details. The letter was delivered, addressed to the accounting officer, Uganda Airlines Company, was delivered on 20th August 2026. So we have ascertained that actually the invitation to Uganda Airlines Company was formally transmitted through Parliament and formally delivered to Uganda Airlines Company. Now that it is 10:30 a.m. of today, Monday, and we haven't received any communication from Uganda Airlines Company. It is a finding that Uganda Airlines Company and all its officers have not turned up for today's invitation by the committee. And before we take a position, allow me open up to capture the minds of members. And then we shall take a decision on how to move. Yes, Honorable Secretary.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Uganda Airlines has taken a lot of taxpayers' money, and I think it was right and fitting for it to appear before us, and we share more about what you have on our table. Chair, on the same note,
maybe to guide, it is a matter of law, not just a right and befitting. It is statutory that every accounting officer must appear and account. You can proceed, by the way.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, in that capacity, Chair, me personally, I have questions in the spirit that in a business, when you carry on something for profit making, there is always a feasibility study. But it's as if Uganda Airlines just goes into business. That's why we are ever in loss now forever. And
maybe for guidance, we are now discussing their inability to attend or to appear. We cannot go into the merits. I only made a highlight of the observations by the Auditor General.
Okay.
But we don't have them here yet to answer, and we shall ensure that we secure their attendance within the legal framework.
Chair, in summary.
So for now, we are discussing their inability to attend.
Thank you, Chair, for the wise guidance. I think, to me, still, the purpose of them not turning up, it's two-way. Either they intended because they had no information to prove to us that whatever Auditor General's report is stating to them, they don't have answers. Two, it's like maybe on that same lane, the intention decided not to come because they are Uganda Airlines. Because the history and what we are experiencing on the previous readings we are getting, it's as if for them they know that because maybe they are immune somewhere, somehow, and they are not entitled to Parliament. Maybe they have somewhere, because we have experienced a member of a commission here stating that I don't belong to that committee. Maybe for them, instead of coming to Cosase, they went somewhere. So they decided maybe to go somewhere where they think they can be answering their concerns. So I think, Chair, we either take the same route we always take in case we are to, according to your ruling and support of members, like as we have been doing, we can decide because there is a lot of money we need to know the whereabouts. You put a warrant so that they can also appear here in that angle, because I think that's what they can hear, or they can get information by warrant. I thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Naki.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Julius Nachi, MP for Budadiri East in Sironko. As highlighted by the chairman in the opening statement and in the overview about this company, the Ugandans have invested about 1.9. This capital has been eaten away. Right there, the 1.9 is now in the theory. It has been eaten away by losses of about 1.3 trillion, meaning we have only 660 billion left in terms of net worth. So it has become a cost center. It has taken a lot of taxpayers' money. It is only right that they appear and answer to Ugandans through us, their representatives. This company fails on the key fundamentals of any viable or sensible business. They don't have liquidity. They have a negative return on assets. They have been operating in negative cash flows, and they are overtrading because they have taken on too many routes and they are unable to have the planes that can actually service those routes. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, their failure to appear, it risks the investment of Ugandans, and they must be made to appear using our rules of procedure, using the laws that empower us to get them here. So I support the view that we invoke the rules like we did with one entity of Uganda Human Rights Commission, and they appear willingly or unwillingly.
Thank you.
When you look at the financial statements of Uganda Airlines, the entity is on oxygen. It has a lot of critical issues that we need to interface with the entity, but I will stick to your communication, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, with my institutional memory on this committee, we last interfaced with the entity in question in 2021 or so. It was about 2021-2022 financial year. And Mr. Chairman, with our experience here, is that even the report that we were ought to present, we did not present because there was some verbal information that the report had been linked. Since then, Mr. Chairman, this entity has been a problem on the committee. Every time when we invite the entity, through you and your former colleagues, the entity creates those avenues. They are not here, the accounting office is out of the country. These have been the trend norms that we have been getting on the committee. So, Mr. Chairman, my emphasis is that please use your powers as a chair of the committee, like the way you did, as my colleague has said, on Uganda Human Rights Commission, and drag the accounting officer to the committee using your powers. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, you need to bite for this entity to appear here. And actually, Mr. Chairman, the old accounting officer, because the year we are looking at is for the old accounting officer, who happens not to be in the office at the moment, Mr. Chairman. With your powers, I believe you'll also invite that one to appear before the committee, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable.
Know why they may not have come. And I've heard from members, everyone has already taken a decision that they have done this, they have a lot of problem in their audits and what. So they have also gone there. But I was just giving
you're also free to quote the Auditor General's report, because that is our source of reference. But information from the corridor, I may not capture it for now.
There is the word you used there, which I don't want to use, because it again takes us back where the problem is coming from.
Okay.
But what I want to say, Mr. Chairman, you members are suggesting that you issue a warrant of arrest, but I want to discourage you from doing that every time, because it also has issues that somehow, somewhere, may affect the operation of this committee. But we can maybe write to them again and then find out why they are doing this. And then we use other avenues, maybe from the leadership of Parliament, to see that they come and appear. But for me, I don't want us to go there. You know, members are now, because the other time we successfully issued a warrant for the commissioner, the chair, Human Rights Commission. Now they think that the chairman will always do that. Don't drive our chairman to those tough decisions always. Mr. Chairman.
No, he is protected. Let him conclude.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, that is my thinking. We can do, we can make them appear without warrant, but also if it pleases you and the members, these issues of Uganda Airlines with their challenges, especially since it is a company that does traveling for people, we should find better ways of interrogating them without the cameras.
Thank you. Honorable Zahala.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Chair, for starters, when you look at Uganda, it has always been problematic to this committee. We were picking it from the news, from anywhere. Now I am at the source and witnessing it myself. So, Chair, I want to request your wise chair that we compel these people to come and attend this committee to answer for their queries from the Auditor General. It is really prudent for the nation to see. We are not going to shelter them and their problems, Chair. That one they should know. And Chair, further information on that matter. One member was suggesting that we proceed and let the big authorities in this institution of Parliament compel them to come. In the recent Parliament that we had, the Right Honourable Speaker said that, told all entities that had shelter by the authority are no longer sheltered. So they should appear before these committees to account for their queries. They should come and answer to us and to the public. And the media won't go away while they are here. They should know as they are coming. Because for us, bending to their law to them and telling them, okay, you come, the media won't be present, blah, blah, blah. Chair, that is not going to be accepted. They're going to come here, be held accountable, answer for their queries, and we proceed. This is an airline for the country which is taking a lot of money, which has people's lives, which we need to overlook into such that they do the right thing at the right time. Thank you, Chair. I submit.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Secretary, you want?
Chair, there is something the inquiry was trying to get from, maybe from colleagues and you.
I don't agree with the honorable members who wish us to begin handling some people with soft hands or with gloves, because there is no entity that is above the other. Then also on the other hand, if there was any mess caused by anybody, they must be able to always be accountable. So Uganda Airlines must appear before us under our conditions, not under their conditions. And Honorable Chair, I will agree with Honorable Secretary that we shall not hand over Cosase's powers to, or we shall not hand over our powers to any other person, because we operate under the Constitution and under the rules of procedure guiding us. So there I don't believe in handing over to or seeking any other authorities to come in, because we have the power and authority to execute our mandate. So Honorable Chair, my take is we have to call Uganda Airlines under our conditions, not under their conditions. Thank you very much. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Honorable Naki, maybe lastly.
The last one, yeah, just I wanted to respond to Honorable Bumari on some few issues. One, when
the available response for Uganda Airlines, it is signed by Susan Batuka Kagwa for the Chief Executive Officer. The available record we have from from the clerk to Parliament. And number two, in terms of invitation, we have certainty that actually Uganda Airlines was invited through Parliament, and there's a delivery by the courier that delivers on behalf of Parliament, and duly signed as received. Equally, the dispatch from Parliament is clear. Looking at the Auditor General's observation, a lot of critical issues are highlighted which require interrogation by this committee. More importantly, when the Auditor General discloses that the airline is making losses, the airline has not captured the government of Uganda investment of worth 1.984 trillion. It is only capturing 200 million as they recognize the issued share capital. The areas have increased. Issues of how these aircrafts are leased have been highlighted. There is money in officers' hands of Uganda Airlines, especially the Juba country office. People are having and holding cash without banking. And looking at the questions about aviation fuel, how they have contracts, unsigned contracts that accumulate charges and losses, and the unsupported aviation fuel supplier, we have penalties of worth $1.782 million in fuel supplied, but there is no document, no justification, no proof, and these are observations by the Auditor General. When then there's issue to do with the aircrafts, the Auditor General cites that some were grounded. The domestic areas, meaning that the domestic areas remain unpaid. Now, in the circumstances, it becomes very important for us to appreciate with interaction the position of Uganda Airlines company. Now, when they receive invitation and choose not to attend, I've listened carefully on an elaborative background by colleagues, how this particular entity has remained very untenable in terms of their appearance, even when invited. And it appears there is an attempt as well to protect this entity from scrutiny. And we don't want to believe that. Since the Auditor General has now audited and availed us the findings on ground, and the Speaker of the 12th Parliament has pronounced himself that every accounting officer must appear, must account, and in the words of the Right Honourable Jacob, or both, he said they must carry their own cross. In our retreat and slightly in the plenary, the Speaker at one point alluded to some accounting officers who make attempts to run to him, but he has always told them, go to the committee. And the Speaker was clear that to shield an accounting officer from appearing before accountability committee would amount to weakening Parliament. And when we are transacting as a committee, we are transacting on behalf of Parliament and on behalf of the Speaker. I think with the available proof that the airline was invited, and cognizant of the submission of members, of course some were proposing warrants, some were proposing invitation or letters, and some were yet to offer advice. I want to guide us as follow. That aware that this committee has the appropriate powers, we shall not abet continuous absence without reason and without explanation by accounting officers. And now that there is a revelation that previously the said airline made attempts to hide under the cover of Parliament, and I'm told some reports were never actually allowed to be presented on the floor of Parliament. We are going to comb all these rules and ensure that we transact in a protected arrangement. We must bring on board both the Office of the Speaker and the Office of the Clerk to Parliament in line with these rules, and I will guide us below. Under Rule 223 of our Rules of Procedure, issue and service of summons. I want to move, the rule provide an order to attend. This is an order, not an invitation. And be notified to the person required to attend or to produce documents by summons in the format prescribed in Appendix J to these rules, signed by the Clerk to Parliament, under the direction of the Speaker. The summons shall state the time, when and place where the person summoned is required to attend, and the particular documents which the person summoned is required to produce. The summons shall be served on the person mentioned. The rules provide the summons under this rule may be served by an officer of Parliament or police officer. I want to move and guide that this committee shall accordingly issue summons to Uganda Airlines to appear before the committee on Thursday at 8 a.m. I want to further guide that this summons shall be served by police officers. Police officers, no, because the officers of Parliament were involved in serving the first invitation. So I want to move under sub-rule 4 that hours must be served by the police officers. And as a committee, when you look at Appendix J on summons, the summons require personal attendance before the committee and must indicate time, and the summons end by saying, if no appearance is made by you in person or no document is produced as directed by the committee may enforce your attendance or production of documents by any means authorized by law. In the last ruling where we invoked warrants, we had received a response that was questionable and evasive. In these circumstances, we haven't received any response so far on record. I think it is a good ground to move by summons, and if summons are not respected, we shall now invoke the other rules. And the following persons must be summoned, individual as well. We want to have the accounting officer of Uganda Airline Company by whatever title. Clerk, I hope you are recording this. We want to have the chief finance officer of Uganda Airline. We want to have the contract committee chairperson of Uganda Airline. We want to have the manager, corporate affairs for Uganda Airlines. We want to have the two chief executive officers, the current and the former chief executive officer. And specifically, we want, and ours is to enforce the attendance, to assist the committee in interrogating the observations by the Auditor General. So they should bring any document within their reach that would assist us and assist in understanding and clarifying the several observations from as observed by the Auditor General in the audit report for the year ended 30th June 2025. In the circumstances, I will now move to adjourn this particular meeting for Uganda Airlines to Thursday at 8 a.m. And clerk, make sure the summons are ready in the next 30 minutes. We must witness them being filed with the office of the clerk. We are going to follow up these summons and also follow up with the office of the speaker. The summons must be ready for delivery as soon as possible because this is a working day of Parliament, and from my findings, the clerk or his deputies are in office. If there is an attempt to delay or avoid the production and processing of these summons, we commit to take on the Parliamentary Commission, because ordinarily with their guidance, the Parliament must support committees, and the Speaker has already pronounced himself that no accounting officer should hide under the office of the Speaker, and by implication, no accounting officer should hide under the office of the clerk. So now that the summons, according to the Appendix J, are signed by the clerk, prepare our summons, make them ready. I commit on behalf of the committee to follow up this. I want to appoint a team that is going to follow up these summons. I will have Honorable Nangoli, Honorable Sextoreko, Honorable Mpindi. Give reasons. Give reasons. Beyond record. Beyond record. Beyond record.
Mr. Chairman, I heard you saying that we need to follow this summon in time, and you had actually said 30 minutes.
No, I told the clerk to ensure that the summons are ready in 30 minutes.
Yes, but right now, Mr. Chairman, after here, I'm going to St. Luke Church, and at midday, I have a meeting. I can show you proof, so I may not be able to.
Okay, we are excusing you. We are excusing you. So I will have the other two, Honorable Nangori and Sextoreko. Let's follow up. The clerk should type and ensure that our summons are ready. We are going to follow up because we cannot issue summons and let them idle. We must ensure that they are effectively executed and pending subsequent delivery. And for our CID officers, once these summons are issued, you must ensure that you deliver them. The rules allow a officer of Parliament or a police officer. Now that our first invitation were delivered by Parliament, our summons have to be delivered by police officers. And you must come back with the proof. Failure for you to also deliver our summons, we shall request that you are repressed. This committee must have very fast and fast-moving CID officers. We had a commitment from the director CID that CID is going to be supportive of this committee. And where we find that there is also not supporting you, we have powers to invite the director CID to assist us understand why our officers are not supported to execute their work. So we want to explore within the rules and assist the public in accountability in line with the powers we have as a committee. I want to adjourn this meeting for Uganda Airlines. In the next 40 minutes, we resume with a meeting with Uganda Human Rights Commission. I want to adjourn this particular meeting. Meeting adjourned. Olwaleero nga Cosase tubadde tulina okufuna okuinteractinga n'ekitongole ky'ennyonyi ekya Uganda Airlines. Twabayise olwaleero ku ssaawa 3. Kakati ba members aba committee babaddewo era ne twongera eddakiika tusobole okulaba oba ttiimu ya Uganda Airlines ejja netwegattako. Tuyina obukakafu nga okuyitibwa kwa kitongole kino kwakolebwa era ne bakufuna ng'ennaku z'omwezi 2. Era tuyina n'obukakafu obwava mu Kuria eyatwala okuyitibwa kwabwe, naye tebaweereza kunnyonnyola lwaki tebalabise ate era tebazze nabo. Kakati ba members ba committee nabo ne tubawo mwaganya naye ku bimu bye tufunye nti ekitongole kino kirudde nga kyebalama entuula za kakiiko ate nga ffe olwaleero tulina lipoota y'omubalirizi w'ebitabo bya gavumenti eyogera ku bigenda mu maaso mu kitongole kino ekyennyonyi. Kati ebimu ku birumira bye tusinziddeko okulaba nti kyetaagisa okuteekawo n'okukozesa amakubo gonna okutuyambako okuleeta abakulira ekitongole ky'ennyonyi nti ekitongole kino okusinziira ku lipoota y'omubalirizi w'ebitabo bya gavumenti kikola losses oba kifiirwa bufiirwa ng'omwaka ogwogerwako ogwa 2024-2025 kyakola losses ezikunukkiriza mu 203 okusinziira mu byazuula omubalirizi w'ebitabo. Ekitongole kino gavumenti yateekamu trillion pozi yeki mu Luganda trillion emu 1.984 emu mu 984 kyokka bo mu bitabo byabwe balaga nti gavumenti ya Uganda enamu shares za milioni 2. Kati trillion zonna teziragibwa mu bitabo byabwe, kitegeeza nti obwannannyini n'emigabo gya gavumenti ya Uganda gye yasasulira trillion emu mu 984 ate bo bitabo biraga nti tulinamu milioni 2 zokka. Kati Auditor General atugamba nti amabanja geeyongedde era nti bwe yagenda kulambula n'ennyonyi ezimu yasanga ziri grounded nga zipakinze. Auditor General atugamba nti okwekenneenya nga ssente ze bakuŋŋaanya naddala mu ofiisi emu ey'Ejjuba ze bakuŋŋaanya ssente mu $, abakozi basigala nazo, abamu kisoboka okuba nti bakuuliita nazo. Kakati ate eno tekola magoba, erimu ssente z'omuwi w'omusolo ate ne ssente abantu bazisigaza mu cash mu ofiisi ezimu. Auditor General atugamba nti ensonga ezeekuusa ku mafuta g'ennyonyi nti yazuula endagaano ezimu nga teziri mu buwandiike nga tesobola kunnyonnyolwa ezeekunukiza mu $1 million mu 782 kati nga ate zivaamu ne penalties nga ezo tesobola kunnyonnyolwa zavaawa nga n'ezimu si mpandiike. Kati ebibuuzo bingi nnyo ebyekuusa ku kampani eno ey'ennyonyi nga olw'okuba biri already mu lipoota ya Auditor General beetaagisa nnyo okutuyambako okutegeera ekigenda mu maaso mu kitongole ky'ennyonyi na kunnyonnyola ki kwe balina ku nsonga zino. Tetusobola kitwala ng'ensonga entono ne we zandibadde nga essente ziri mu issue ntono naye ate zino nnyingi na nnyo ku kitongole kitakola magoba ng'otugambye nti abamu ku bakozi babeera ne cash tebaziteekayo tebazibankinga, essente gavumenti ze yateekamu teziragibwa mu bitabo byabwe, ensonga z'amafuta g'ennyonyi ziriko ebibuuzo, ensonga za aircraft ziriko ebibuuzo bye twagala okuyambibwako abakungu bano ng'amateeka bwe galagira. So engeri gye batazze aye ne batatuwana kunnyonnyola obutafaananako n'ekitongole nga Human Rights abatuwandiikira nga bagamba tebajja kujja. Bano twagala kulowooza nti bwe baba balina ensonga tebagituwadde buwi ne tumuvinga wansi w'obuwaayiro bwa Parliament obutulagira okufulumya ekiragiro ekiwaliriza omuntu yenna yeetaagibwa okujja eri committee, era tutumizza zituyita summons eza Parliament. Summons zino nga twagala eyali akulira kampani y'ennyonyi eno neyamuddira mbigere balabikeko gye tuli, akulira ebyensimbi, akulira ebyemirimu, akulira corporate affairs oba kutugambe nti PR n'ebirala, asharinga contracts committee bana bagabazi contract ne accounting officer bonna tubeetaaga bajje mbuntu ne tiimu yaabwe eya Uganda Airline Company nga tubagala ku Lwokuna ku ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya ku Lwokuna lwa wiiki eno. ekiwandiiko kino okusinza oluluzi zaffe kyetufulumiza ekya summons ate kyo kisayiningibwako kiraka wa parliament kati tulonzeewo akakiiko k'abantu basatu Kwendi, Honorable Nangoli ne Honorable Secretary to following up kiraka waffe okulaba nga summons zino zituusibwa mu office ya kiraka wa parliament. Speaker wa parliament yalambulula dda ntayagala accounting officer ina kwekweka mabega we kati naffe buli kiwandiiko kyonna twaga tukigoberere tulabe nga bwe kiba kirina kuva mu parliament kivaayo mu budde era twagala ekiwandiiko luno oluggwa tukirondole tulabe nga kiraka wa parliament akisainingako oba yenna gwanaaba asayininze kisobole okuba nga ffe tusazeewo wansi wa lulu etugamba nti kisobola okusavingibwa officer wa parliament zino summons oba okusavingibwa officer wa police. So tusazeewo ntula okuba nti invitation eyasooka yasavingibwa officer bafe aba parliament zino summons twagala zisavinga nga police officer yazisavinga bano ba officer baffe betulina abala attached to the committee. Era tugambye nti wadde tuwulidde nga bamemba beemulugunya nti oluusi waliwo engeri y'okugamba nti bano babazibira mu institution ya parliament ne bweneeba parliament oba officer yenna nga yagezaako oziiza committee member okujja twafuna dda guidance ya speaker tewali alina kwekweka mu office yonna tujja kulondola naye kumuyita ng'omujulizi kubanga omulimu gwe tukola guli mu mateeka guli mu rules twaga kulaba nga bwe tuba tutransactinga tufuna okunnyonnyolwa ku ebyo ebiba byanokolwayo auditor general oba ebyo bye tuba tuzudde nga byetaaga omujulizi yenna okubinnyonnyola. So tesuubira officer wa parliament yenna kwesigaza nga alina okukola omulimu gwe era ne kiraka tumusuubira okuba nti olufuna summons zino ajja zisayiningirawo bunnambiro nga yeebuuza ku mukama we tuziwe officer bafe aba police babe nga bazitwala. So tugera kirondoola tetwagala summons zaffe zeetololere mu korido nti waliwo akyaweereza ani. So tugenda kuzirondoola nga committee okulaba nti process tebaamu kusikatira kwonna tulabe nga bono ku lwokuna bajja eri akakiiko tugende mu maaso we batajja tulina omwaganya mu mateeka gwe tujja okuoputinga nga twagala tubawo omukisa ogwokubiri naye ku luno nga guzitowako nga tuyishuinga summons zino okuzigaba tuba n'olukusa olw'enkanankana olwa high court era bw'ogijemera oba ojemedde ekiragiro ekirina amaanyi ag'amateeka. Mwebale. Mufuketta awansoka jeko